Jet fans were losing their ever-loving mind. And I'll be honest, I was a little frustrated. Joe Douglas not making any moves in a season. We got to go all in with Aaron Rodgers. Well, day one doesn't pass Joe Douglas by. The Jets signed John Simpson, Javon Kinlaw, and Tyrod Taylor.
J-E-T-S, Jets, Jets, Jets!
All right, boys and girls, I'm really excited about this. The New York Jets got 3 players added to their roster that I think are under the radar, didn't really break the bank. The Jets don't have a crazy ton of money in cap space anyway to work with, but you're not seeing these crazy overpaid deals like a Robert Hunt who goes for $100 million over 5 years, which is absolutely banana land. I would not endorse the Jets going after that level of guard anyway. But the Jets get 3 players that I'm pretty excited about. Now, as of recording this video, I do know the contract for one of them. The other 2, I have not seen the contract numbers released, but I'll give you my thoughts on that, as well as their injury histories, what it means for the New York Jets, their statistics, some interesting facts about them. But let's hop into it. The first guy we're talking about, the first name that broke late last night, tonight, as of recording this, John Simpson, left guard from the Baltimore Ravens, signed per Tom Pelissero for 2 years, $18 million, up to $18 million. So maybe it's a lower deal and it's incentive-based because he only has the 1 year starting experience right now. Simpson started all 19 games last season for the Baltimore Ravens. At left guard, he's expected to play there in New York, which means my dream of having AVT kick back over to his original left guard spot that he came into the league at is no longer there, but that does mean he could still stay at right guard. So I'm okay with this. I don't think that necessarily means one way or the other that AVT is moving to a particular position. So it's something to keep an eye on as we move forward. Now, who is John Simpson? Now, I'll be honest, I didn't know a whole crazy ton about him, so I had to do a little bit of research. And here's what I found. 6'4", 330 pounds. He's 26 years old. So you're kind of going the opposite direction of like a Laken Tomlinson, who had the Pro Bowl caliber career coming into New York. This guy's a little bit younger, drafted by the Raiders, was not a didn't play a whole lot until this year, where he got the starting opportunity, wound up winning the job in the summer. His best games this past year were against the Texans, Seahawks, Browns, and 49ers. And if I'm sitting here looking at this, you're talking about DeMeco Ryans, you're talking about a 49ers team that Robert Saleh came from, and you're talking about the #1 defense in the Browns right off the bat, and those were his 3 best games. That's got me feeling pretty decent right off the bat. Now, as far as his worst games, Dolphins, Steelers, Bengals, Titans is where they kind of rattled that off. He is a penalty machine per Pro Football Focus. Now, I saw 2 different numbers. Pro Football Focus had him at 14 penalties on their website. Stat Reference or Pro Football Reference had him at 11 penalties. Either way, not great in terms of penalties. Has a lot of holding penalties called on him. Now, that could be, young, inexperienced starting. It could be Lamar Jackson running around and him just trying to not get Lamar killed. So I'd have to go back and watch a little bit more of that. He only gave up 1 sack in the 1,200 plus snaps that he played this past year. 31 pressures. That was good to be 19th in the NFL in all of across all of guards. That's a 6.5% pressure rate. And he was number 32 on the NFL's top 100 free agents list. I thought that was really cool. It was really nice to see that because it feels like the Jets are actually getting like a bargain here. $9 million a year. Would you rather have this guy, or would you rather pay $20 million a year for Robert Hunt? Right now, I'll take the the lesser contract with the more upside. I feel like Hunt can only go downhill from this point in time. Now, if you were looking at his Pro Football Focus grades right off the bat, it's really not good. And people panic when I first look at it. The first thing I do normally when I see someone pop up on a feed is, the New York Jets signed this. All right, Pro Football Focus, when was he drafted? Look at his stats. Now let's go over and we're looking at everything else. And my first reaction was uh-oh, I don't think this is a great signing. And I would be wrong. You can't just focus on the Pro Football Focus grades. Now, as far as injuries, guy hasn't been injured. This is a healthy starter. This is someone that is coming into the Jets right now that does not have an injury history. So it's not like Joe Douglas is bringing in injury-prone players, maybe Bakhtiari at some point. But right now, this is all well and good. Just had a rib injury a few years ago and a shoulder sprain. So no injuries to speak of. Never missed a game in his career. Now, as far as his what I've kind of dug up, this is my favorite clip that I've seen. This is Chris Long talking specifically about John Simpson.
Somebody I want to shout out on the Baltimore offensive line. John Simpson is a guy that keeps popping up for me when I watch tape, who I caught on a hot mic after one of the touchdowns saying, I fucked that bitch up.
Hell yeah.
There he is, Edwards, driving, in for the touchdown.
You called it, and you were dead right.
Go to Mitchell's touchdown and watch what he did. This guy adds a physical element to that offensive line that fits who they want to be perfectly. And I just want to shout him out in the run game. I really like this guy. Not a lot of people talk about him, but he's got that attitude. The first play of that Cleveland game, they ran counter or something like that, and he flatbacks 𝐂𝐿 Smith, and it set the tone for the whole game. And so I really like John Simpson.
They challenge him Saturday night in that meeting room. They
Yep.
say, hey, play one, big dog. We're going your way.
Play one.
We're going at Big Za'Darius, and they turn. The whole team's in that room.
Exactly, dude. They do that.
The whole team's in the room. He's in that point in his career. You can make yourself the guy you want to be, and that's awesome.
So that's really cool. I'm going to F this dude up. I love that. We've been missing like the mean nasties on our offensive line for like a hot minute now. So if this dude's like ready to fucking road grade and just fucking bulldoze over people, I'm ready for it. Let's go. This guy's got some pretty fun highlights too. I'll let these tick through as I kind of give you some more of my thoughts, right? Like offensive line-wise, the Jets obviously still need a tackle. Whether you want to have AVT as one of your tackles or not is yet to be seen. The Jets seemingly, at least right now, Jet fans think we're going tackle at number 10. So the Jets kind of need two offensive linemen in some capacity, whether it's a tackle opposite of your number 10 pick and an interior offensive lineman, or something along those lines, because right now, your interior looking pretty solid at the very least. John Simpson, high upside guy. Tittman, growing. AVT, growing at right guard. This is three people that are on our offensive line that can grow together, and seemingly if you had the number 10 overall pick at that right-hand side, or left-hand side, maybe you get a Joe Alt or an Olu Fashanu, you're going to have a young offensive line that's going to be growing together for the foreseeable future. So this gets me pretty excited here. I'm liking this move. Liking it a lot more than the initial like knee-jerk reaction of staring into the Pro Football Focus grades. I'm excited to see what some of the film junkies have on all this. Now, the next player we're going to take a look at, you can see all these signings right here as I skim through this, is Javon Kinlaw. Defensive tackle for the 49ers. This is a Robert Saleh connection. He was the former number 14 overall pick in the 2020 draft. That was the final draft that Robert Saleh was in San Francisco for. So you'd have to imagine the defensive coordinator probably had a pretty heavy influence in drafting this guy to San Francisco. He's 6'5", 319 pounds. He's only 26 years old, so still very young. His best games were against the Rams, Giants, Cowboys, and Packers this past year. His worst games were against the Cardinals, Bengals, Vikings, and Commanders. 4 penalties per Pro Football Focus this past year. Got 4 sacks on 544 snaps. 35 pressures over the course of the season. Not too shabby. I will take that. Now, he did have a lot of injuries throughout his career. His big thing, his knees. He tore his ACL in September of 2021 and basically played in like no games until this past season when he played in, 17 games? I think he played in 17 games. Played in all the games throughout the course of the season for the 49ers. So there is a situation where the 49ers were like, hey, we're not extending your 5th-year option. You're just going to roll into free agency next year. We'll see what happens at that point. Now, obviously, the 49ers have a little bit of, they've got a lot of cap things they got to figure out on that side, so he was going to walk either way. So the Jets wind up bringing him in on like a high upside. And to me, this is sort of like a de facto like Solomon Thomas 2.0, where you have a very highly drafted defensive tackle that is being given a second shot to grow and maybe take that next leap, take that next contract that could potentially be down the pipeline. Because I'm sure as a former first-round pick, he's got dreams of a monster contract at some point in there. And coming to a team that you already know the defense that has a chance to fight for a Super Bowl is a pretty good option, if you ask me, for Javon Kinlaw. And for our New York Jets, pinning this guy next to Quinnen Williams, this is going to be a pretty nasty defensive line if this guy just stays healthy and clicks on some of his cylinders. So I'm pretty happy with where these two particular players are overall. And you know what? This defensive line for the Jets, it's looking pretty strong. I feel like you still probably have to add some type of edge rusher, unless you're just happy with John Franklin Myers being on the outside, which you could be fine with. I don't know how many resources you want to devote to that. But interior-wise, I do like this. Now, I did want to see Solomon Thomas come back, or I would like to see Quentin Jefferson come back. I don't really know how that's going to impact their feelings one way or the other. This to me is a great signing. I can't imagine it's going to be for a whole heck of a lot of money. I don't know what the contract is on this one right now, but I'm not upset with this whatsoever. The final player that we're taking a look at here the New York Jets bring in Tyrod Taylor as a backup quarterback. When you're looking at everyone getting signed, you see Gardner Minshew going to the Raiders on a nice contract. You see Brissett going up to the Patriots on an $8 million deal. That was the one that had me like, man, really? Like, of course Brissett goes back to the Patriots. He's going to have an opportunity to start. And that was something that I thought was going to be a hurdle for the New York Jets when it comes to backup quarterback. The top-level backup quarterbacks were always going to try and go to the places where they were able to start. But an older quarterback like Tyrod Taylor, who's I think 34 years old. I have the stat pulled up in just a second. 34 years old, does not have a whole lot of crazy options out there for him. And he just played his last year in New York, so he doesn't have to move. He's literally his commute's probably closer at this point if he's going to Florham Park versus going to, I don't know, Giants Stadium to go see the play that they're going to end up having, or the practice facility that the Giants end up having. 6'1", 217 pounds, 34 years old, 6th round pick in the 2011 draft from Baltimore, which means Joe Douglas was there when that pick was made. So there's a little bit of connection there. Bills, Eagles, Rams, Commanders were his best games, his worst games. 49ers, Jets, Dolphins, Saints. Jets, of course. Always makes you feel good, I guess. As far as his play this past year, 0 penalties per Pro Football Focus. He did have 17 sacks in his 10 games, but the Giants' offensive line, really not good. Really bad offensive line this past year. Did not protect him well. Did not protect any of their quarterbacks well. Daniel Jones, Tommy Cutlets, and Tyrod. Tyrod did get knocked out. He had broken ribs this past year. I would say this is a very high-level floor type signing for the New York Jets. I like this. 28 wins, 28 losses, 1 tie, like literally 50-50 across his career record. He's a 2-to-1 touchdown interception ratio. And when I look at backup quarterback, I want someone with high floor that can win you games. And that's Tyrod Taylor. It honestly is. And I don't know if this is something that you might feel more compelled to have a third quarterback on your roster. Like ideally, we're not seeing Tyrod play at all next year. But with Aaron Rodgers, you have to figure that they're going to want to have a little bit of security with Tyrod there. But if Tyrod has to come in and play in any meaningful capacity, now maybe you're not expecting Tyrod to get knocked out in the same game that Aaron gets knocked out in. But I kind of had the vision of like maybe the Jets carry 2 quarterbacks this year instead of 3. Now, I do think with Tyrod, you're probably going to draft a quarterback, which is what a lot of Jet fans wanted anyway. So usually pegging people in like the 4th round, 6th round, later round stab at this. And then you wind up rolling. And I'm happy with this. I'd be really pumped with a Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod Taylor is your backup quarterback. I can't be upset with that. Now, as far as his injuries go, he is beat up a lot. And this is only the last few years. This is only going back to, 2020, I think. Lots of games missed. So you got to, look, like I said, you got to be aware of that. My favorite thing, though, that I saw was we got an MVP caliber backup, if I do say so myself. And this is obviously Tyrod Taylor's 2015 stats alongside Lamar Jackson's current MVP caliber season stats. And I'll let you just glance at this in its oh so beautiful glory. So who knows? Maybe Tyrod Taylor can capture a little bit of that magic and we can have a rock solid backup to Aaron Rodgers. Guys, I'm really happy with where the New York Jets are currently sitting as it's currently constructed. Day one. We're through day one. You got a defensive tackle that plugs a hole. You got a backup quarterback that definitely plugs a hole. And then you got an offensive lineman that's going to be starting for you that looks like he's got a ton of upside, that's got a mean, nasty streak to him. So I'm really excited for this. You guys can let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And as always, go Jets. Thank you guys so much for hitting the like and subscribe button on these videos. It goes a long way towards growing the channel. And then occasionally I get sponsors like this. So if you want to help support the sponsor of the channel, or maybe just get yourself some cool gear or some good discounts, you can click the link in the description down below. Today's sponsor, 𝐻𝐿𝐼, is going to give you 25% off your order using promo code JetsTalk. Link in the description down below. They've got gummies, THC syrup, THC seltzers. I just discovered these things. They are incredible. As someone who has been trying to cut down a little bit of their alcohol consumption and not, maybe feel as crummy the next day, this has been a godsend for me. Keep me nice and calm, cool, and collected, especially with all the hurdles that our Jets throw our way and all the headaches that we got to deal with as fans. So if you guys want to help support the channel, maybe get yourself a little bit of a discount as well. Support the sponsor of the channel, 𝐀𝐿𝐼. Thank you so much for watching the show.